Good evening.
I think you change it every week just to see how I'm gonna react. They're like rocking old lady falling down the steps, or I don't even know what to expect anymore.
I gotta keep it interesting. But I was thinking about this week though. By the way, good evening, everybody. Good evening,
Good
Dave.
evening.
And welcome to our show. And welcome to our insanity. I was thinking about this week how boring would our intro be without the AI videos? I mean, every clip in there is AI except for one. And the one is about an artificial guy running across, chasing wild boar. So, and I'm assuming that's real and that's not AI generated too. Um, but Dave, you know what? You and I were talking about this last week about Star Wars, and you had said
Yeah.
that there's rumors that Disney's going to remake the original trilogy, and
Oh yeah.
that would be interesting. Let's say, um, and we were talking about this, and I'd said, the only way I could see that possibly working, if they're gonna do that, which I think is a terrible idea, is they
It
have
is a terrible
to
idea.
do it all AI. Has to be all AI. Um, Remake it and just make it a little bit more modern, but that's it.
Mhm.
Um, any other way, it'll end up like Solo, you know? Solo did not have Harrison Ford. Therefore, even though the storyline was actually interesting, the movie bombed. It did terrible. In fact,
Hmm.
it stopped. They were planning on doing a Boba Fett movie, and they canceled it. They canceled the idea once Solo tanked.
Hmm.
And yet, when they did Rogue One, which was prior to Solo, it did great.
Rogue One was good.
Yeah, and because they spent the time, they used AI, they used, the CGI, and they recreated characters, including some of the ones that we know from the original movies, and made them look like they were really there. And then they kinda just said, we're done with that. We'll throw that out the window." And then we saw what happened. But I think you're right, though, that it would be a terrible idea. I said that last week, and if unless they do it that way, that's the only way it's gonna work. But you've got people like us, Dave. I mean, I'm older than you,
Yeah.
um, and I was a little kid when those movies first came out. So you have, a generation of hardcore Star Wars fans that grew up with it, and now they're being told, "Oh, they're gonna remake the original movies," you know? Um,
Allegedly. The
allegedly.
speculation is that they're gonna
Yeah,
remake them. Officially, everybody, Ken's in my opinion is don't do it. Our
exactly,
official opinion
exactly.
is don't do it. And by the way, I have to make a correction. Last week I said it came out in '79. Actually, the original film came out in '77. I looked into it. So the 50th anniversary is next year. But
Mm,
that would when would be the best time to announce that they're remaking it?
yeah,
That's and so
yeah,
I our official position is don't do it. But
yeah.
money is money, and I think that they're going to do it. And why? Because the Disney company has stated they're doubling down on sequels on everything. They are putting very little into original content, and they're moving into safe things for their movies because let's be real, their movies have bombed lately. Like everything they've done has been terrible.
Yeah.
I'm looking so how Ken feels about Star Trek is how I feel about Marvel. And you know, the stage series. What's the word I'm looking for now that I'm on the spot? The fourth and the fifth arc has been absolute trash, and so they're supposedly resetting it for Doomsday at the end of the year. And
Mhm.
I'm just hesitant. And now you have the same thing happen with Star Wars, where Rogue One was actually really good. Um, I have been enjoying Darth Maul, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit.
Yeah.
But the I'm hearing the views on that, Ken. I don't know if you've looked into it. They're not doing great on views. And it's actually not a bad show, and the views are not showing up the
Hmm,
way that you'd expect.
hmm.
Um, and so I do think that they will remake it. I think that there will be a lot of AI implementation. I think, well, I think you're the one telling me. Don't they have the rights to Carrie Fisher, like her imagery in perpetuity? Didn't they buy that since she passed away from her family?
Think they do. I mean, they used her in Rogue One. I mean, she was still alive then too, but they used her face in Rogue One at the end as the young Princess Leia, which I remember it gave me goosebumps because I thought, they just showed the back of her like, "Oh, yeah, they're showing the back of her, we're supposed to just," and then she turned around, it's like, "Whoa, it looks just like her."
So she
So,
wasn't flying through space without any spacesuit on, right?
like a cardboard, cutout? No, no, she wasn't. Not at that
um,
point.
so I can completely imagine that they will remake it. I think they'll get current Ewan McGregor, current Obi-Wan to play old Obi-Wan. Which
Which would be terrible, I'm sorry.
you
That
think
would
so?
not You cannot replace Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan. You can get away with Ian McGregor as a younger Obi-Wan, but you can't replace. Nah, absolutely. Imagine if they made Darth Vader a different person, and it's like it doesn't even look like him anymore. I mean, that
I
would be ridiculous, you know?
So do you think they'd put what's his name who played him in the prequels in the mask in the movie? If they say okay, where
Well,
the assumption
they
here is
did
Ken.
they did in the series Obi-Wan.
Okay, so if they did it there, and we're assuming that these remakes are coming, I think it's a safe assumption to be completely honest. Would they put him back in the mask so he's playing or acting the part in the remakes?
I think they would, because even to the point where in Return of the Jedi, they replaced the original actor with him at the end when he shows up as a ghost when everyone's celebrating. And one of the last scenes when Luke Skywalker looks over and sees them, it's the new guy. I can't
Why
remember.
am
I
I
can't think of his name, but yeah, it's the new guy. It's like so. And I remember they did that before they released
Hayden
the
Christensen?
prequel. Yeah, they started bringing out the prequels. Man, I'm having a brain cramp here. So when he showed up, I remember seeing Return of the Jedi again in the theaters because they re-released it again with the new stuff, and I'm like, "Who's that guy?" So, but yeah, that's him, Hayden Christensen, and so they had him play. They had him play in that movie. And speaking of that, do you know how many times they re-released the original trilogy in the theaters?
Is it 3 times?
I
I do
think it was 3. It might have been 4 because
Well,
you
you were
had
the
the
one telling me that New Hope went for a year in theaters back in the day. Right, or
originally, yeah, but then they've re-released it. I know they released it obviously with the updates in it before the trilogy came out, the prequel trilogy. They released it originally with I think it was an anniversary or something. They released all 3 of them together. They released all 3 of them, and so you go and watch like a marathon. Um and then when the prequel trilogy came out, they released all 6 of them again so you could
Mm.
watch it as a marathon. So, and I remember because when the 6 came out, we had one of our youth group kids went and watched, all 18 hours of Star Wars. I'm like, "Dude, you're out of your mind." But, I didn't get to see the trilogy marathon originally, and I didn't bother to see that one. I wasn't gonna sit in the theater that long. And so it's been at least 3 times since they originally came out. I think it might have been 4, but I'm not sure. We'll have to
Hmm.
look that up. I should have looked that up before the show. But
Yeah, I
what other
so
movies have done that, you know?
I know they just recently put the Lord of the Rings films back in theaters like a month and a half ago,
Mhm.
where they put the big ones out. And by the way, I crashed, that's why I disappeared for a second. Um,
Bathroom break.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Woo! Um, they're, so that's I remember seeing as a kid the original trilogy in theaters because, my parents took me, but we saw all the prequels. I know that. They were coming
Yeah.
out when I was, you know, the perfect age for a Star Wars film,
Yeah.
between like 11 and 15. Yeah, that's like the most magical time for like a teenage boy to see that stuff. You know what I mean? It's just like it is right
Yeah.
where he needs to be. Any kid, really. Um, but yeah, I can see them remaking it. I can see them improving the space battles. You might get longer time in that. The Obi-Wan and Darth Vader fight will probably go longer, which would be good. Um, the actors that are alive will probably make cameos just
Yeah.
for fun. But if they redo it, I don't know. I think it's going to be so much darker, and I mean like in every single sense, and grittier.
I think, yeah, I was gonna say, I think it'll be grittier, um, because they've done that with the other ones. And you know what? That's, you can add that sense to it if you want to, but don't change the storyline. Don't change the people. Make it the same, but just enhance it. That's all they really need to do, is just enhance it if you want to, and kind of bring it up to what we'd expect in a today's movie, rather than watching A New Hope and knowing, yeah, that was definitely from the 70s. Okay. The even the the outfits and stuff, and and some of the hairdos are very 70s. It's like watching the original Star Trek, and the and the beehive hairdos and stuff like that they have. It's like, yeah, that was definitely made in the 1960s. So
I'll
if you
give
kind of erased all that stuff and made it more, it's just out there by itself.
okay.
Okay, but that's, you're still playing with fire. You're still, they could really, if they don't do it right, it will severely hurt them after
Yeah.
everything else they've done
I
with Star
just
Wars.
the big thing is that they have to save the brand, and I don't know how they're gonna do it. Um, because I should find out the numbers, but from what I've read or heard, the numbers on Darth Maul's viewership have been not great. It's actually a good show, but they need to somehow drive up popularity. So, like, the premiere, I guess,
Yeah.
had 4.1 million global views, but since then is the question.
I
And,
think I think probably because the first few episodes were a bit slow, and so
really
it wasn't until, like, 4 or 5, I think it was 4, you started to see some action. But even so, it's, you can't spend 3 episodes of a 10-episode season running slow. It's gotta be a lot more stuff going on. And I think maybe part of it is it's a cartoon. It's not live
yeah.
action, so you're gonna limit your audience. Um, Even
Well,
though there are adults that watch that stuff, and I watch it, but it's a cartoon.
But why
So,
don't we we're gonna continue, to our audience, we're gonna continue talking about this because this
mhm.
is something that Ken and I are working through this thought of if they're gonna remake it, what will we want that to look like? And we'll continue to visit this as we go forward. But Ken, why don't we jump into our Darth Maul review of the last 2 episodes?
Here he is again, handsome guy.
And I will
But, uh
say, I actually do like the artwork the more I've watched the series. I, um
yeah,
I definitely
it's
agree with
very
you.
detailed.
Yeah, it is, and maybe it was the first episode I complained it was too dark, like, visibly, like, I thought the show was dark. And I do think that they're in
Mhm.
a lot of gutters and things that are unnecessarily dark spaces, but, as I've watched it, it's grown on me. I, appreciate the last 2 episodes where they had the clone troopers and the Empire has now come into the scene and, coming after Darth Maul, and of course, the police officer on the run. These are spoilers, y'all. Sorry about that. But I have appreciated that. I can see how this is a show definitely for people who are not your I just like the movies kind of person. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? This is for someone like you who's watched the Clone War cartoons, who has watched Bad Batch,
Star Wars Rebels,
and I think it
yeah.
itches those itches that have not been sated in a while. If am I right about that? Does that kind of like scratch that itch you've had because Star Wars has been so poor?
Yeah, I mean, Darth Maul is a George Lucas character, and
Yeah,
I've seen some backstory of him in Rebels and in Clone Wars. So if you haven't seen those though, and you just watch this, you're gonna be like, "How did he get back?" You're not gonna know how he's even still alive,
yeah,
because unless you watch the Clone Wars, you'll have no idea why you're seeing him again. Um, One of the things I like too that I've noticed, because with cartoons versus live action, you see the definite difference in the lightsaber battles,
oh yeah,
where this one, it's not as good as live action, but it's definitely smoother than the other cartoons. It's not just, almost like they're skipping frames in the other cartoons. This one, it's more smooth, so it's more detailed. Still not as good as live action, but it's a lot closer, and they're obviously using, AI tools and stuff to make this better.
The
So,
Jedi Hunter scenes in these last 2 episodes were really good,
yeah,
particular.
yeah.
And I
Mhm.
like how they also have the, what is that? The two-sided lightsaber? What's the word for what that is? Um,
Two-sided lightsaber. I don't
yeah,
know. I
it's
don't know
yeah,
what the word is.
um, I and then how they're using them, they did a fantastic job. The detailing in the one Jedi Hunter's mask is fantastic.
Yeah.
And, I've actually so the evil drone looks like a flying saucer. I
Mhm.
He might be my favorite character in
Yeah.
this show.
Yeah,
Just
they have
nasty
them
little
in,
robot.
they have those types in there's the Inquisitor robots, that work with the Inquisitors, and you see them in Star Wars Rebels a lot. So, um, yeah, no, I'm a fan of the show, and again, I think it's a niche within Star Wars. Some people like just the basic, frontline stuff, and then others like the backstories too. So I think the backstories is just a smaller audience, um, than the other ones. So
And now I we've talked about this. I don't think it's a problem having these these smaller audience, these as you said, the niche shows where like the super fans or even just the fan that is above just the movie watcher can enjoy. I think that this is
yeah,
it's good for there is a group of people who are going to take in as much of the content and the IP from like Star Wars, right?
yeah,
And this is providing something to them. And I think that in this kind of content, you can have, I'm doing this off the top of my head, you can give to those that are love it so deeply through this kind of means. Does that make sense?
hmm
Um,
yeah,
and your movie's got to be for everybody, but your
yeah,
shows can be for the super fans. And
yeah.
I don't know how. Hopefully, Disney will figure that out. I think Dave Filoni, he's the one in charge of Disney Star Wars now. I
hmm
think that this is going to be well. I'd love to hear about the viewership hitting good numbers, not Starfleet Academy numbers, though I haven't heard it getting that low.
No,
Um,
hopefully not.
oh man, can
That's
you
pretty
imagine?
low. That's pretty
Just
low.
yeah, this
Speaking, you know what? Maybe this isn't the time or place, but I will say this real quick, and then I don't want to stick on it right now. I know I'm breaking rules, but I heard a rumor that Paramount is possibly trying to sell season 2 of Starfleet Academy to another organization. I don't know if it's true, but it is plausible that that could happen. But just throwing that out there, we'll have to look that into the future and see if that plays out. That would definitely fortify my position that Paramount won't be showing it. Um, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what
who
happens
would
there. But
who would buy it?
I heard Netflix, but and it's not the first Star Trek series that Netflix has bought from them. They did one of the cartoon series.
So, do you mean like they'll own this one, or they have the rights to show it? Because
I don't know, but the way I saw it is they were trying to sell it to Netflix. But again, that's just a
okay,
rumor.
speculation or rumor,
Yeah,
yeah.
but it's an interesting one out there. It's an interesting rumor.
So this is I don't know if you've been following it. Have you seen the Coyote vs. Acme movie trailers?
No.
So Coyote vs. Acme is where Wile E. Coyote sues Acme for all the bad products he bought trying to get Roadrunner. And for all the kids that don't know what Ken and I are talking about, ask your grandparents. I'm sure they'll
Yeah.
tell you who Roadrunner is and who Wile E. Coyote is. Well, I
Yes.
guess that movie was made, and they felt it was, and the whole movie was filmed, and the company that made it sold it to the major producer who thought it wasn't good enough, so they shelved it. They said we're never going to put it out. So the company that made it rebought it back, and then they're putting it out.
Wow.
So this is not an unheard of tactic if this is what's happening, where another entity is buying it from them. I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess Netflix doesn't care. They're just getting the residual views because, or maybe they're hoping that people like you and I will
if they can
suffer
get it
watch
for
it.
cheap, yeah, if they can get it for cheap, and Paramount makes a little bit of lessens their, you know, their negative number there. Yeah, they might try it. I mean, Star Trek Prodigy, which was a cartoon, that was sold to Netflix, and then I think it was sold again to Nickelodeon, or it was the other way around. But that changed hands, from Paramount to two other places, and then it died. But it's been done before, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
For sure.
so that's a whole nother topic that we could get into. But there
Yeah,
is the idea of we own the IP and then we let people pay us to write stuff in it and they get a little bit of the money. It's like licensing it out.
yeah,
You see, so Transformers used to do this where the company that owns Transformers would license it to other companies. So like Marvel Comics used to make Transformer comics in like the 80s and 90s.
mhm,
And so they would get a piece of the money, Marvel Comics would get a piece of the money, and then they'd make content with it until the license runs out.
mm,
There has been arguments saying that some of these big holding companies of all these IP, these intellectual properties, should just say, hey, our writers are terrible. We're going to let you pay us to make money off of our product and we'll get a piece of the dime. So you're talking about AI earlier. Have you
yeah.
seen the comedy stormtrooper videos on YouTube where it's like two stormtroopers and they have
Yeah.
adventures and it's ridiculous.
It's
But
like it's made like a documentary. Like there's a
yeah, and
camera
it's
guy and he's, talking to the camera and stuff, and like behind the scenes of the, different scenes in the movies and stuff. Yeah, it's funny. I like some of that
what
stuff.
so what they could do is, well, let's be real. Movies are ridiculously expensive to make now. They're
Mhm.
and no one can figure out why outside of Hollywood why they're so expensive. But look at you and me. You have a microphone and headphones. I have a mic and headphones. You are using a little bit of AI time and you're making up these clips. Why doesn't Disney just say, "Hey, you pay us a licensing fee. We get X amount of dollars out of every dollar you make, X amount of percentage,
Yeah.
and you can make under our auspices content." And then like, look, I know you're a businessman. Here are the rules. Don't break these rules. If you break these rules, you're done.
Yeah. Yep.
And have somebody make like that Stormtrooper series
Mhm.
where that guy, he just has two Stormtroopers being, absolute idiots and
Yeah. Yeah.
somehow not dying and somehow not being able to shoot and hit.
It's gonna be a short now, you realize that, right?
Pastor says a Ben shoot and hit the broadside of a barn. That's the whole series. That'd be great. Oh man.
Yeah. That would be
You see,
cool.
again, who are you and me? You know what I mean? But Disney did that with Netflix when they gave them the rights for Daredevil, for Jessica Jones, for um a couple of their guys. And those shows on Netflix did really well. And so
Mm.
they own the material. Netflix made some money, Disney made some money, and everyone was happy. If maybe the Ellises who own Paramount, maybe they just say, hey, look, here's the Star Trek universe, here are the rules, pay our fee, and you can do that.
Yeah.
I know that's what t-shirt companies do. You like, hey, I want to sell t-shirts with your stuff on it. Okay, yeah, we'll take this percentage and you go ahead.
Yep.
Up, see, look, now it's happening. Now it's
Heard that.
happening. I'm sorry, Lord. I was trying to say hit the broadside of a barn.
Well, that on that note, let's go to our official weekly review. That's one of my favorites.
You just because I have cats and Ken has dogs, and in the ministry, having a dog is a super inconvenient thing.
I can see that. I can see that.
And
sure.
I don't. I love other people's dogs, but I have cats because a cat it's easy. The cat just takes care of itself. The guy just clean up its poop. But Ken just does not like cats. But that's not what we're here to talk about.
Nope, that is not. We watched an interesting documentary this week, and the documentary's been out since 2021, and I've known about it, but I've never seen it before this last week. And so, Dave and I wanted to talk about this tonight, and we're going to talk about it again next week as well. Um, but wanted to hit on some of this tonight. Borrowed Future. So this was a documentary that was made. It features Dave Ramsey, John
Yeah.
Deloney, Mike Rowe. Remember him from Dirty Jobs. He's a big proponent for trade schools and stuff. He started a Mike Rowe Foundation, and he's actively working with other organizations like This Old House and other places to reestablish trade schools
Well,
because they are so important.
I think we should get into that in a little bit after because
Yeah,
trade schools and well, let's talk about borrowed future and the money used, but we should get back to the trade school topic after we're done because
yeah.
the trades are going to be where the money's at, especially with AI. Your college
Oh,
degrees,
absolutely.
y'all. College degrees are going to be real worthless real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna have robots doing your job. Actors going to Hollywood, you ain't going to Hollywood much longer. So, um, but yeah, this movie was. I mean, we've heard about the student loan crisis and all that. We've heard that for years, but there's some crazy stuff that is played out in this movie, in this documentary, and it goes through and basically interviews. First of all, it interviews a few people in different walks of life that have gone to college and what they did and what they didn't do. Um, I thought I've heard some whoppers in my day, but you probably saw this too. The oral surgeon who's $1 million in student loan debt, $1 million in
So
student loan debt.
let me tell you a personal story that I heard. Um, so my wife and I are on a cruise, and we are on Royal Caribbean's personal island, and we're just hanging out, just chatting with one another. And a couple next to us was getting increasingly more and more drunk, and she was getting louder and louder. And the wife or the girlfriend shared, I am $230,000 in debt for
Oof.
college. And my wife and I just looked at each other, and she's like, and she's on a cruise, which I think she also said she would put on her credit card. And and so you have these
Yeah,
people who are living for today and just putting on debt, putting on debt, putting on debt. She's a
yeah,
slave. Now,
yeah.
the concept, and I'll say this: I have student loan debt. We're paying them off. It's very difficult.
Mhm.
We've managed to pay off a couple of different student loan debts that we own. We're getting closer. I think we're exactly 3 years away from being totally debt free. But it's
Mm,
praise the Lord.
yeah.
It's taken forever, but it's a s- uh, it's a slavery, and I
It
do
is.
definitely believe with the topic, which is you can't ask an 18-year-old kid. Yes, you're a legal adult, but your brain isn't even solidified. You have no money to your name, and college legitimately costs. When I think I first went, it was 18 grand. And when I graduated the school I went to for my 4-year degree, I think it was hitting about 35 a
Mm,
year.
wow.
So that's a lot of money that a kid has to pay.
Yeah.
And
It
Ken, you were there when I was in high school. It was always go to college if you want to make anything of yourself.
absolutely. That's all we heard. You gotta go to college, gotta go to
So,
college.
so let me put it like this. My dad's generation, my dad is in he's like 64. Actually, I think he's 66 now. He did not go to college, and he went to be a police officer, as a corrections officer, and he got it.
Mhm,
Today, the same job requires a 4-year degree. When my
mhm.
dad was a kid, he just went in, they like the cut of your jib, and you got the job.
Yep.
His dad was a New York City police officer. Same thing. You got a high school degree, you put in a resume, and you got the job. Now, to be a police officer anywhere, you have to have a 4-year degree. And college has become, I hate to say it, Ken, a very expensive intelligence test.
Yes, it is.
You,
And
you're paying for access, except there is no the payment to get into the economy is now $100,000 about.
yeah, and
But
that
you will never
doesn't
get
include a
it.
job. It doesn't include a job,
It
you know?
doesn't
It
necessarily
gives you a
mean you'll
piece of
get a
paper.
job.
Yeah.
And
Oh, you can
and
get
so
a
you
job. It might be at McDonald's, though. I mean, you can still get a
well,
job,
even
just won't be the
well,
one necessarily you think you're gonna get.
the big thing is, and this is a big deal, you have these kids, and again, um, I think that Gen Z and Gen Alpha coming up are probably gonna have the blessing of the fact that the internet is so big. But your generation and mine were promised, like, you'll have the whole world.
Yeah.
And, I got out of college and the 2008, fiasco hit. And there's like, hey, no jobs, guys. The
Mhm.
economy decided to crap the bed.
Yeah.
Sorry. And then it stayed that way until 2016.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then at 2020, it decides to fall apart again. And it has been a rough road, and so many people get into these debt. I'm sorry. This is very personal to me because I know people that I'm dealing with it. And
Yeah.
this is a fan. So let's just stick to the review here and not get into personal stories too much more. This you need to share with your high school student in your life. And
100%.
and by the way,
And their parents.
and their parents.
Yes.
Because if they are anything like Ken and my parents' generation, and even Ken, the people in your generation, how many people were sold a bill of goods? Or when they went to college, it was a lot cheaper than it is now. And they
Yes.
think like, hey, you got to get your kid to college. Um, if you are willing to put your son and your daughter in chains for the next 15 to 20 years of their life, do it.
Yeah.
But most you need to watch this. And Ken, I want to ask you something. What is the worst thing you can do when you're thinking about buying a car? Or
Well, I think it's, well, the worst thing you can do is act on your emotions. Um,
exactly. You
yeah.
fall in love.
Yeah.
If you fall in love with the car that you want to buy, you will not think rationally. And that's what
Mhm.
it is. And the same thing with your dream college. There was a girl in the film who fell in love with Duke University. It's a private school. She loved the experience and the ambiance. She didn't look at the price tag.
No. No.
And that's the
And
problem. Yeah,
kids are not educated in the things that they need to be educated in when they graduate from high school. Um, here's an example: the oral surgeon, young guy who's now doing this, but he said his monthly student loan bill is $10,000 a month just to make his minimum payments.
it's
So
crazy.
what happens if for some reason he can't work anymore? What's he going to do?
He's out of luck, so to speak.
What would have happened if he didn't graduate for some reason? Like, in his final year, he didn't graduate. He still
And
has
that
the debt.
happens to people.
Yeah, happens 40%. 40% of college goers, the last time I looked, never finish, but they
Ugh.
still have the debt. The only way to get rid of it is to die because you can't bankrupt it. You can't, you'd have to go hide somewhere, or they'll garnish your wages. So the whole system is a scam. And the way they describe it, and it makes perfect sense. I remember hearing this in high school where, "Oh, I got accepted to such and such. Oh, I got accepted. I'm so excited, right?" Wait a second here. Why would I be excited about getting accepted to a school that's gonna take my money? Should I not be the ones interviewing them and accepting them? Because this is my future. This is my money I'm gonna invest. And the problem is kids are not taught that.
No.
It's a propaganda and it's like, "I got accepted. I'm so excited. I'll figure out how to pay for it later. Give me the loans. It'll all work out in the end." And that's what these kids think.
Yeah.
and they think there's gonna be a dream job waiting as they graduate, and it's just gonna be, "Okay, guys, come on, come work for me." And they get out and they're like, "Where are all the phone calls?" And then they have to start looking for a job themselves. And there was a statistic on there, I don't remember how many I don't know what it was, but it was ridiculous how many people that graduate, they don't get a real job for like 6 to 12 months. Those are the
Yeah.
ones that actually get the real jobs, but even then, they start at the bottom. That's where everyone starts. You're not gonna come out of college most occupations, you're not gonna come out of college and immediately making 6 figures a year. It's not gonna happen.
No.
So, but you have the debt and the expenses that you need 6 figures a year as soon as you get out of college. So
So let's look at what happens with your life. So say you go to college to enter in, let's pick the most generic degree, business.
mhm,
You go into college, you graduate with, let's say, $100,000 in debt. Where are all the business degree businesses, businesses that, jobs that require business degree located in cities? How expensive is city living for an
mhm,
apartment by even with a roommate? These days, you're looking at 2 grand. So you're looking at
yeah,
$24,000 just in living. This is in utilities, this is not food, this is not transportation. 24 grand, poof, from your paycheck. Now, if you're making $100,000 a year, that's a quarter of your paycheck just in rent.
not
And that's
counting
not
your student loan debt.
and that could be anywhere these days. But what is what so there it could be a payment of $500 to, you can get it low, but from 200 to $500. So let's do easy math. $500, that's 6 grand a year that you're paying in student loan debt. So suddenly now you're at 30 grand out the window and you're still not even eating.
Yeah,
And you don't
yeah,
even have the lights on, you don't have internet, you don't have transportation. You see what's happening? I bet you, with just what I'm talking about, you're up to over 50% of your income.
yeah,
And
just
again,
in that.
I'm talking like 100 grand. I didn't talk about what the government taxes out of that already from you.
Mhm,
So you're that money that gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and you paid to make nothing. But and so I just it's a huge scam. And on top of that, you're talking about getting a real job. There are realities happening right now where kids have to compete. And with the globalized economy, why would you pay an American to do the job when you pay somebody nothing in a third world country with an internet connection?
yeah, yeah. Every
Like,
time you call a company, you're getting someone that lives in another country pretty much. I mean, it's
and
everything's getting subbed out, farmed out in those areas because they can.
and and now further, you have all these kids who have these degrees. White collar jobs are going to be the first ones replaced by AI,
Mhm,
and it's happening already. So you
yeah,
have white collar jobs are the hardest to get, and you're competing against people who are brought in by companies because they will. And I know this happens. They'll say we couldn't find an American worker, so we're bringing an H-1B visa worker to take the place of an American. Of course, where they advertise the job in a newspaper in the town of 20
yeah,
that they paid $5 for, so they could pay somebody from overseas a third of what they're paying you.
yeah,
Or they'll just hire a company from overseas and leave it like that. And on top of that, white collar jobs, Ken and I like talk about Hollywood. They're firing these people
yeah,
and they're
letting them go.
they're
They have no
letting
work
them
for them.
go because why would you pay 10 guys when you can have a computer do it? Like Ken made all those videos in the beginning. How long did that take you if you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, each one by itself, especially now because
Yeah.
I have a subscription, it goes pretty fast. So, and they have systems now that you and I can buy. We can make our own mini movies if
Yeah.
we wanna spend the money. But,
And
yeah, it's so fast and it's so cheap. And plus, I don't know if you've noticed noticed late noticed lately. It's getting
no,
late. It's been a rough week.
as long
Um,
as you didn't put hit and shot in the same word.
um, I've seen a lot of AI commercials lately.
Oh
They're
yeah.
they're growing. They're not gonna pay actors and cameramen and all this stuff anymore. Why if I'm a company, if I wanna listen, if I was going to do a commercial for my company, I'd go AI right now.
Sure.
I'd go AI. It's going to be a lot cheaper. I'm going to get a much better return on my money. Who wouldn't do that? So you have to look at it the same way in today's world. So how I would look at it, co- college is an investment. First of all, what do I want to do with my life? What kind of work do I want to do? And
Yeah.
then find out what is it going to take to make that happen. You know, it's sad because 100 years ago, almost every type of work, almost every type of trade, you would go and learn, get paid to learn under someone else who's a
Yeah.
master.
Yeah.
Um, you would go to medical school to be a doctor. You would go to law school to be a lawyer. You want to be a farmer. Usually, if you're a farmer, your father's a farmer. But if
Yeah.
you want to be a merchant, under them, an accountant, trading in the market, you were paid to train. And somehow we've changed this concept into now we're paying to be somehow trained. And the training they give us isn't even a lot of it's not even specific training.
Well, it's about
It's
gender equality and it's about, underwater basket weaving and what gender are you out of the half a dozen that exist? Oh
yeah,
no, the 20
you,
dozen that exist.
you'll get a degree and then you'll go get a job and have to be trained by them anyway. So it's
Yeah.
like we've created this monster. And so the one thing that does encourage me, I guess this is how I would look at it. If I was going to say what is my solution to this, um, first of all, it's not the government. Um, my solution would be that people need to understand, why am I going to college in the first place? There are people that go to college just for the college experience.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say
They
this
want
as nicely as I can. That is a dumb reason to go to college.
100
Um,
grand to get drunk for 4 years.
yeah, colleges, a lot of these colleges, you walk onto the campus, it's like a country club.
Oh yeah, you know what my dad used to call it? He used to go like kinder college.
Yeah. They said in this
It's like
movie, it's
daycare.
basically, another 4 more years of high school, but on steroids.
Yeah,
And
it's
so
just yeah.
you can have that experience. You can be away from your parents. You can have, I mean, I don't know about you, Dave. I mean, you went to college,
I did,
but
yeah.
I've visited colleges. We used to visit colleges when I was in high school. And the best part about it to me was the cafeterias. I mean, they had some good food. So they are enticing people to come in. You know why? And you probably caught this, Dave, but I wonder if our viewers know why these big colleges have football stadiums and stuff like that. They were built specifically to draw people in
Yep.
and to get kids excited and to come to their college. And so when these college students come in and they're enrolled and they see that giant football stadium that costs hundreds of millions of dollars, they can have the satisfaction of knowing that their tuition's paying for that. Their
Yeah.
tuition's paying for that hype. So, but there are smart ways to go to college, because there are certain careers that, number one, you have to look at the big picture, like what we've been talking about. Is
Yeah.
that career going to be here tomorrow? To the best of our knowledge, some things you can look at today and say, yeah, it's not going to be around much longer. But if I want to do something, it requires a degree. I got to be smart about it.
Yeah.
And this
Well, this
movie
is
gives some examples of that too.
yeah, well, this is the problem, Ken, and this is, you have to forgive us. We were born in the 1900s. um,
Yes.
the problem is that we expected the world, and so did everybody. We expected the world to look like it had been,
Yeah.
and it changed. It changed in a way that we can't imagine. This is just a symbol. This has changed everything. Because the
Mhm.
history of the economy has been the same until when did iPhone come out? In 2008. And then after that, the world is drastically different economically. And so everyone
Mhm.
was told, do the things and you'll be fine. And it's not anymore. It's not
No.
working anymore. The world does need to go back to, I believe, what you're talking about, this model, which is, the way, okay, so this is what I'll say. I'll disagree with Ken just a smidge. I think the government can get involved by saying you don't need to go to college to be a police officer. We'll train you in our academies that we already have to
Yeah.
do the job.
Yeah.
And they could do that in that way. I mean, you don't have to go to college to be a police officer. You went through the military for 4 years. All that is just a boot camp plus some time practicing. What's the difference?
Right.
Why not say, okay, you didn't go to college. Training for being a police officer is an extra so many weeks to make sure you have these ideas in your head. And what's going to happen, and Ken, you know this from work, you figure things out.
Mhm.
And if you have somebody there who, and I don't mean this in a mean way or a weird way, is holding your hand, which is what happens to every new guy ever. You have somebody who's teaching you the ropes,
Yeah.
whether you're flipping burgers or, you're hammering nails or even you're doing contract law. Somebody is there to say, that's not how we do this.
Right. Right.
I would, this is, I'm a pastor. People, no man should be going to seminary. What should be happening is pastors should be saying, I will train you where I can't do it. You and the church and I will buy you a class so you can learn Greek and learn Hebrew. And then you use
Mhm.
it in practice here.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
need to go to seminary, get 50 grand in debt, and then you get a job which will never pay you enough.
Mhm.
No, you should have a guy saying, like, look, we'll teach you to preach. And I've done it. I've taught people to preach.
I
I,
know I know lots of people that
you
have
know,
gone on to careers that you would think, "Oh, they must have a college degree because everybody else does," and they don't, and they're doing very well because they started number 1 at the bottom,
yeah,
and they stood out, and they got noticed, and they got moved up and moved up and moved up. You know, one of my brothers, he started out as a truck driver working for, um, a, uh, a nursery, plant nursery,
yeah,
not a baby nursery. Um, and he ended up running their, whole, tech system and, running their computers and stuff and making sure everything's running right and building systems. All that stuff's automated. The greenhouses are all automated. Now he works for a company that works internationally, and he helps build systems for other nurseries around the world. And so he travels and stuff and consults. No college degree at all. Why does he have that job? Because he's teachable.
yep.
He has experience, and I've been hearing, along with that, that a lot of companies are looking for that now. They're looking less and less whether you have a degree or not, because having a degree, I hate to say this, Dave, but having a degree doesn't mean that you're useful or valuable in that job.
There's
Um,
only one exception. And I actually believe there's one exception. If your degree says the word Harvard, that's it.
you're you're all you are
That's the only
good for
exception.
everything.
Yeah,
You're good
and
for everything.
the reason why is because that has weight. But let me tell you, you can be going to state school or you can be going to your local community college. The recruiter does not care
No,
unless it's got that little Ivy League thing on it. And in which case, if you're going to an Ivy League school, you're not getting a job. You're
well,
getting a job in your daddy's company, right? At that
yeah,
point. And
yeah,
but 99% of graduates are not going to the Ivy League. And so most people don't go to your dream school, live at home, go to community college, save the money, get the degree. They just want to see that you could, if you want to go to college, this is the best way to do it. Digitally commute. Do not move your kid, and parents, do not move your kid halfway across the country.
no. That's and today, and here's the thing, Dave.
Don't do that.
There's more and more and more opportunities of online virtual college where
Exactly.
you are in your own home, you're in a Skype setting, you're interacting with your professor and other students, so that it's not like I have to figure this out myself. You're not, but it's way cheaper. So part of this today is there is more and more of that popping up
Well,
because
we're filming this on YouTube right now.
yeah,
Do you wanna know how to I have to my dryer decided it wants to break, and so the tumbler isn't working. I have to figure out how to fix it. Literally, people are paying $500. This is the college in a small scale. People would rather just pay $500 to buy a new dryer. I've looked it up. It's going to cost me like $30 to buy a belt, and it's going to take me 45 minutes because I don't know what I'm doing. And I've watched 4 YouTube videos.
Yes, I was gonna say there's a video for that though, Dave. You can figure it out. So,
And
yeah.
that's the thing. You don't need to pay for a lot of these educations anymore. You
Yeah.
just watch a YouTube video because
Mhm.
somebody is trying to make money by you watching their video. You're getting the knowledge you need, and they're getting the views they want, and you just saved yourself a whole mess of debt. Now, yeah, there's actually a great comment here. And yes, you're correct. If you want to be a nurse, a doctor, an engineer, like something like that, you do need college. But other
Oh,
things,
absolutely. I didn't say you didn't.
yeah, no, I think
But
she's agreeing with both of us here. You're right
yeah,
about that. But
but here's
uh,
to
I
clarify
don't
that
think
too, and
a
I
lot.
think we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Um, College itself is not what you need. It's the medical school that you need. It's the law school that you need. Even today, when you go to medical school, how many fluff classes are there? You know, I went
Oh
to
yeah.
I went to college for a year for business management. I felt like I was in high school. I'm like, these are the same classes I had in high school. So I took actually it was a semester I took, and then I took another night class after that next semester. So when I say a year, it really wasn't a year. I got to be honest. But I stopped because I'm like, this is pointless. I'm not learning anything. Um, and instead, I started working for a builder, and I learned from him. And really, and it's funny because we were learning, the Windows had just come out. That's how far back Microsoft Windows,
You just
which
want to date yourself.
as soon as you're learning that, it becomes obsolete because they come out with a new one. So, um, but I can safely say the only thing I learned about that experience for me was I didn't belong there. So, not everyone belongs in college. Um, I've done well for myself, praise God, without college. I supported a family without college.
Yeah.
There are options out there. And so if you gonna go to college and you need college, there are smart ways to do it. Like Dave, you were talking about. And there's some examples in this documentary of some people that did it the smart way. So if you want to know how to do it the smart way and to have that mentality that I'm going to invest X amount of dollars to get this in return. Is this a good investment or not? Can I do it for less and get the same return? So 40 years ago, the difference between private school, state school, or community colleges was big as far as your quality. Your community college, the quality of your education wasn't very good. Your private one was the best, and state was, somewhere in the middle. Nowadays, the quality of education is all comparable to each other,
Yeah.
but the cost is way off.
Oh
Private
yeah.
is way higher, and then states down lower, communities even lower, but you're getting the same education. It's going to give you the same benefit to go to the community college, stay at home, save all that money, and do it the smart way. Um, Another thing they talked about, Dave, is grants and scholarships. There's a ton of
Oh
stuff
yeah.
available. You can get a scholarship, and my oldest son has heard this. You can get a scholarship for being very tall. You can get one for being very short. You can get one for, and some of the scholarships, when you start Googling these things, it's like, I can get a scholarship for that. So they're available, and people will spend hours, you know, and it's not, "Oh, I got $10,000 off the bat." It could be $500 here, $500 there, but they add up. So if you spend 5
Yeah.
hours searching for scholarships and you get one that's a $500 scholarship, you just made $100 an hour. That's
Guys,
not bad.
you have AI now too. I bet
Yeah.
you if I looked in scholarships for white men, I bet you I could find a few. But let's wrap up
So
with
it's
this, Ken.
yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
AI is going to devastate the white collar economy for a little while. A lot of
Yeah.
jobs are going to be lost. And now here's the thing: not every man and woman is made for the blue collar, the trades work. The
Mhm.
trades work has been underestimated for some time.
Yeah.
We talk about them building these robots, and yes, they are coming, but somebody needs to do HVAC in the state of Florida. And that
Yeah.
is a ton. And a robot might be able to do a repeatable task, but when a plumbing line goes out, it's not going to be able to think through why did this break?
Right.
And same thing for a mechanic. Yes, it could, probably can do oil like nobody's business because it's the same repetitive task. But there are things where you got to fix this vehicle or this diesel engine. It's going to need people who can do these things. And the
Mhm.
trades, I mean, what was it they were showing? If you go to trade school will take you 8 to 10 months. It's going to cost you maybe at the top end 20 grand. And you'll be making a good 6 figures in almost every field, because what's the average age of a mechanic in the US now? It's aren't they getting
Yeah, they're
there?
they're old. I mean,
And electricians are even
good
older.
mechanic. Yeah, a good mechanic, a good build, a good carpenter, good, a lot of these people that are the good ones are older and they're retiring. So there is a real crisis for this stuff. Um, yeah, I mean, there's so many opportunities. And the other thing with some of these, like my wife, she went to nursing school, and well, she didn't finish to become a nurse because we have kids. She went and she went around to the hospitals and said, "Hey, I want to go to nursing school. Will you pay for it?" And she found one that would.
Yeah.
So, there are opportunities like that in all kinds of different fields where you can get someone that will a company that will pay your schooling for you as long as you agree to work with them for X amount of, years afterwards.
And yeah,
My youngest
I
son,
I was gonna say, I've seen that even locally at
uh,
the hospitals nearby.
yeah, my youngest son's gonna be he wants to be a structural engineer. So he's finishing up his, junior year in high school. He's doing dual enrollment, which is free for us. That's another opportunity. A lot of schools today, uh, at least in 11th and 12th grade, are offering, dual enrollment, which means you get to go to college for free for 2 years. Um, they're actually the one that he goes to now at the college, they started a, like a pilot program in a particular, local high school where they're starting it in ninth grade. So you could literally go through ninth through 12th and graduate with a bachelor's degree for free. So these
Crazy.
opportunities are coming, and we're seeing good signs of this. But yeah, there are opportunities. And I was going to say, my youngest son, he's going to be doing an internship this summer with an engineer that I work closely with every day. So it's an incredible opportunity,
Mhm.
and he's going to learn. I'm going to say this: he's going to learn more in his internship with him than he'll learn in college. But
Oh, yeah, well,
you
he'll
need
learn the ins
both.
and outs. Yeah.
Yeah, you need
Um,
both. So
Again, this is engineering, medical degrees. These are things that you do need to go to school for. I'm just saying there are myriads of people in the economy who got dumb degrees, worthless degrees
yeah,
that could have either just went to work and be fine, or had no idea they should have went to trade school.
yeah,
There, and that's the thing. I definitely think that the economy is not set up to handle every type of person. Um, I was telling somebody about this. I think some people are born to be soldiers, for example, and they'll never know that because we don't have
mhm,
opportunities for them. I think some people are
mhm,
born to be moms and stay at homes, but the economy
mhm,
isn't set up to make that easy anymore. I
right.
believe some men are born to do, yes, a fake degree, sports management.
Stop.
Uh, I knew a bunch of them. What do they do now? They're not in sports at all. Um, there are degrees that you do need to go to school for, and I do believe that back in the day, you did have people go for English,
Yeah,
but it wasn't like everybody and their brother. It was, you know, you got the kind of brain where you should be thinking these thoughts. And it was a very
right.
rare kind of man. I mean, like one of my favorite apologists, C.S. Lewis, he went to school for English, he had a master's degree, and
Mhm.
that's all he did. And then he was a professor. But not everybody can be a professor, you know?
Well, and
But
again, you go back to that era. In the
yeah,
last 40 years, the cost of college period has skyrocketed
and
in
the quality of
comparison to
degrees is bucketed.
yeah, the inflate yes, absolutely. The compared to the inflation level, college inflation was way many more times than our natural economic inflation. So, it's, there's a huge difference there. And so back then you could go to college for a reasonable amount. Back 50 years ago, you could get a student loan from the government but they would only lend you up to $1,000. So it's like there were caps on this stuff that they've taken away, and it's turned into a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Well,
So
I hate to say it, when the government gets into bed with anything, it makes it more expensive.
yeah,
Like we just saw, EBT removed candy and soda from it, and suddenly the prices of candy and soda go down because they're not making as much anymore because you can't use EBT to buy junk food anymore.
right.
The government
Yeah.
gets in bed with college. Guess what happens? The price of it goes up because they have that sweet, sweet money guaranteed by the taxpayer.
Mhm.
Again, and there are it's a storm it's a perfect storm of terrible. Um,
Yeah,
the so anyway, just wrapping up this section. Parents, you need to watch this. Kids, you need to watch this.
absolutely.
Um, and I know this is the hardest thing. And I was a youth pastor. Ken was a youth worker with me. There were a lot of kids that were heading to college that had no business going there that I saw in my life.
Mhm.
And it's not that they're not smart. It's not that they're not capable. It's not that they're not special. And I'm not meaning that to be pedantic. I'm not saying that to diminish them. They are truly and they were wonderful people, truly, because like good kids. But not everyone needs to go to college. In fact, I'm probably being too conservative. 50% of them didn't need to go. I feel like
The
and I'm rubbing against my own values here. Um,
Yeah, but, I think the point, Dave, is that we live in the land of opportunity here in the United States. There are many different avenues to go. College is one of them if you do it smart, but there's other avenues too. So don't
yeah,
buy into the lie that if I don't go to college, I'm gonna lose in life. That's not true, and there are
it's not.
millions and millions of people that are living proof of that. I
Yeah,
have I have extended family members who came from another country, who came here with, like, nothing, and now they're millionaires because they built a life, and they didn't go to college to do it. So,
yeah,
it can happen, and any one of us can do it, and the opportunities is there, and I think that's the encouraging thing. I think this movie will all educate people, warn people, and encourage them, and show them how you can do it smartly. So,
yeah,
there are examples. There's one example in here of a guy who did it the smart way, and now he graduated from college with a 4-year degree, debt-free.
yeah. He
And
flipped. That was the guy who flipped lawnmowers, right?
yes, he was flipping lawnmowers, buying them, fixing them up, and selling them on the weekends. He was, "Where can I make money?" "Where can I make money?" That type of guy, and between the scholarships and the side jobs, he graduated, and he didn't go to that big, big name school, and yet he's on the right path now in life, and people here can do that same thing too. So, definitely, watch that, and, we'll talk more next week about, debt and stuff and how to avoid it, and, I think we're about ready to go to into our next segment. Are you ready, Dave?
I'll be
I'm
ready
ready.
in a second. Hit that button.
Alright.
All right, so we're going to be picking up on apologetics. As soon as I tell you hit the button, the thing does not show up because
Of course.
it'd be helpful. But what we're going to be talking about apologetics is I'm going to move it over here so I look like I'm so you can't see everybody is I'm not actually looking at Ken. I'm looking into my notes to see where this is. But what we're talking about today is again, apologetics, dealing with difficult questions and accusations. So last week we uploaded our apologetics thing, and people were not. We got some really good comments, to be honest. We
Hmm.
also got some good pushback, which is always fun. Okay, come on now. I just had it. It didn't. I hit the wrong button, and then it decides to close.
Of
Thank you.
course.
Um, there we are. So we talked about the presuppositions you have to have in your mind, and that both atheists and Christians have presuppositions. So don't be afraid to use your presuppositions. Um, and just argue from where you believe. It's okay. The non-believers doing the same. So we got some pushback in the comments. You know, I saw something about word salad and stuff like that, and that's fine. But the thing is that when you're talking about presupposition, everyone has them. And so,
Mhm.
for example, we believe God created the world in 6 days. The atheist believes that the universe came into existence, kind of just happened, um,
All by itself.
all by itself. You know, the Lord Jesus was conceived by the Holy Spirit. That's how he was born. The Holy Spirit came upon Mary, and then there was the virgin birth. The atheist has a virgin birth as well. It's just the universe.
Entire
It's
universe.
it's just they're not any different. They just believe different things. Because to be real, life doesn't just happen. We know that life does not have spontaneous generation. They proved spontaneous generation was illogical a long time ago. How they did that was, Ken, you might remember this from high school. They talked about how people used to believe if you laid out a piece of meat, flies would appear, or if you left out a barrel of hay, mice would appear.
Mhm.
Well, guys, let me tell you a secret about mice and flies. Mice eat hay, and they also have babies where they eat. And so the mice would hide in the hay and have their babies, and mice would come out. They weren't boom mice.
Yeah.
It was the mice were making mice. Same thing with the flies. The flies would find the meat, they'd lay their eggs on the meat, and a week later, boom, flies. So what happened was they put the meat and the hay in sealed containers, and guess what didn't happen? There was no flies, there were no mice. It doesn't
Mhm.
happen. Spontaneous generation isn't real. Things don't just appear. That'd be great because I would like if a truck just into existence in my front yard because I could use a new car.
Well, the thing is, Dave, too, our economy, our food supply depends on that fact. Because if spontaneous life appeared, we wouldn't be able to keep food preserved. A
Sure.
sealed jar would spoil or randomly spoil, or maybe this one would, this one wouldn't. So our entire food system depends on that fact. That's a proven fact over and over again. Every
Well,
time you
and
open a sealed jar of peanut butter, as long as it was sealed, you're good to go.
the observed consistency in the universe is odd because why should things be consistent
Right.
given that human beings are not?
Mhm.
And yet it is exactly proportioned, designed, sustained in ways in which things are and can be. If the sun was a little bit close to the earth, nothing could live here. If it was a little further away, nothing could live here. If the moon was in a different position, nothing could live here. Um, One of the things that struck me, Ken, and this is something that's just you think about when it comes to creation, and I'll focus in a little bit. Ken, do you know why whales jump out of the water? Do you have any idea what they say?
They're talking?
They really don't know.
Okay.
The speculation is that they're jumping because they have parasites and the air makes them less itchy, or they are possibly trying to find a mate. Um,
They should just ask one.
yeah,
And
well,
we
they
might know.
whales can have song and they talk to each other. Um,
Yeah, that's true.
the Bible says this that God watches Leviathan play. What if whales are just like Leviathan and they just want to play, and so they jump out of the water?
Yeah.
They don't need by the way, there's no rational reason for them to do it.
Right.
It's a waste of energy. These are massive animals. If they're itchy, they are communicative. They can literally have one of their friends come up and do this, and they do.
It's
And so
amazing that they can do it in the first place, being how big they are, you
and
know?
and and so why do they do this? Obviously, there's something created behind them. Or another
Mhm.
one, um, yeah, dolphins jump into the water too. I think it's because they want to play. Why is play even a thing? Like, why is that part of creation? What's the point of enjoyment?
Right.
Or, for example, um, Ken, have you ever noticed that all fruit is specifically designed to be carryable? Think about that.
Yeah.
Even
True.
more unusual fruit, like say a durian, is the size of like a watermelon. And you might say, well, these things were bred to be the size that they are. But yes, they used to be smaller. And most of them have been bred to be big. But they're all big enough for basically your hand.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
look, if you think about the orange, Ken, this is the thing that just kills me. Did you know oranges are in slices already?
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
they're
Crazy.
pre-sliced internally. Uh, what would make that occur in nature? Well,
Right. And
what, where? Or
yeah.
again, you just have these things that are too coincidental to do that. And so for you to see these things, like the orange, is it pre-sliced? Whales like to jump out of water. Did you know that if a cricket was the size of a human being, his legs would be able to jump this length of a football field? Did you know that? If you had legs like a cricket, you'd be able to jump the length of a football field.
Huh.
And yet at the same time, these legs that can jump that distance make music every night.
Yeah.
And why do they do that? Some say it's because they're trying to attract mates. Some say it's because of predatory reasons, but they're all doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why? What is going on? Well, the scriptures say that the stars in the heavens, they had announced the glory of the Lord. Again, you go through these things, you look at them, you see something, they obviously are pointing to something beyond themselves. You have to suppress it in unrighteousness, as it says in Romans chapter 1.
Dave, I just thought of something too
Oh, go
along
ahead
that
while I get a
line.
drink.
There's birds will fly in flocks and they fly in a V formation.
Oh, this is
And
amazing.
they've proven that V formation is the most aerodynamic, most efficient way to fly. They've done it with
Yeah.
small airplanes and gauged how much fuel. And that's why the birds do that. How would they know how to do that? And
And
they
when
do it all
one
the time.
and when the lead bird gets tired, he falls to the back
Yeah.
and
And they
and
switch.
one takes his place. And because of the drafting, it actually helps him keep flying.
Yeah.
It's just
Crazy.
it's amazing. And when
Yeah.
you allow yourself to see it, it just starts to make sense that there is a design. I was watching this thing about a whale feeding a baby whale. And did you know, like, whale's milk is so thick it doesn't dissipate in water.
Hmm.
And so the milk stays contained so the baby can drink it.
Yeah.
Because
Crazy.
when you and I put milk in water, it goes, no, you don't put milk in anything. But
I put it in the
it,
trash.
yeah, it thins out. But for them, it does not. And when you look at just nature, when you look at how people work, I mean, you don't like cats. You know, a cat's meow is the same as a baby's cry by pitch.
I did
That's
not know that.
They
That's
can
wild.
they domestic cat will meow at the same pitch as a baby. And
Huh.
again, you think about our pets. Just think about our pets. Cats are the most murderific small predator on planet Earth. And what do? They kill pests. They also kill birds and everything else, but they kill mice and rats, which spoil food, which keep people alive. And then they eat the things that destroy our food. You look at dogs. Dogs are astounding creatures.
Yeah.
Uh, Golden retrievers and Labrador retrievers will find people buried under blocks, and shepherds will bring animals together, and rat terriers will also kill rats and small things. And you can go on and on and on. And this all comes from one animal species.
Yeah.
It does this. And the same thing, cats have multiple uses as well. But you have these amazing things in creation. There's a world around us, and you have to suppress or have some sort of bias that says this is an accident or a coincidence. But
Right.
at some point, you have to ask yourself how many coincidences are going to stack up before you have to say something is going on here.
Yeah.
And it's not in one field. We just talked about biology and physics. It goes on and on and on. Ken, I don't know if you know this, but the pine trees in Florida, have you seen the amount? Like you go out east of us, you go out towards Arcadia. You ever look at the southern pines when they're blooming, the new blooms in the spring?
Not specifically, no.
You know what
Not.
shape the new growths of the pines are in the spring?
I don't know.
They're cross-shaped.
Huh. Okay. I did not know
So
that.
the little crosses. I had a southern woman tell me, the southern pines always come out cross-shaped. And if you don't believe in God, why are they like that?
Hmm.
Um, the very structure that holds together your cells is cross-shaped. It's even
That I
coated
knew.
inside of
Yeah,
us.
that I
Um,
knew.
and so you have this across all sorts of scientific fields, which is, by the way, what people say science is the number one challenge to, religion and Christianity. No, science is a tool, and it's showing us these things. Uh, Tools are made to work, but tools have to be used properly. Ken,
Yeah.
have you ever dug a hole with a hammer?
I actually have, but no, didn't get very big. That's for sure.
Yeah,
It's not a very efficient tool
it's not
for
made to
that.
do that.
No.
You can do it.
Yeah.
You,
Just takes a
it's
lot longer, and
it's
it's
not a
not
good
gonna be
idea.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
not a good
if you
idea.
have a shovel, you want to use a shovel, and if you have a backhoe, you want to use a backhoe.
Mhm.
But you can dig a hole with a hammer. What's going to happen is
Yeah.
you're going to be frustrated. It's going to break, and you're not going to get what you need. Science is a tool. If you're trusting
Mhm.
in it as your religious system, it's going to break. It cannot sustain belief. It is a tool. That's what it
Mhm.
does. It is investigative. It is not philosophical. It is not belief oriented. Um, and you see this happen all the time where people put the wrong kind of pressure on a tool and it breaks. Same thing with people. You put the wrong kind of expectancy on a person, they'll break. It
Yeah.
happens. It just happens across the world. You can use a hammer as a shovel, but you won't get far. You can say, well, science is proving all these things, and I believe science. You know what? There's a lot of Ken and I will be the first to tell you, we love scientific understanding. In fact, it's really neat.
Mhm.
Um, Christians are not just people who hate science and la 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 in their ears. Um, Modern science exists because Christians wanted to understand creation. That's the history of it.
Mhm.
When we see science and we see what it accomplishes, what it does is it's following and fulfilling scripture, which is it's God's delight to hide things and it's God's glory. It's the glory of kings to reveal things. Let me put that more simply. Ken, Christmas is fun when you're a kid, but it's more fun when you're the parent because you get to see. Oh, hold on, parents. If you don't want your kid to hear this, this is when you want to stop. All right. It's
I know
more
what you
fun to
mean.
watch your kids open the presents because you've see the surprise and the joy on their face. When God made the universe, he made it in such a way in which he hid a lot of the stuff about it. And and this is the Bible, he delights when we discover things. Like a
Mhm.
father delights or mother delights when their kid opens a Christmas present. And so science is literally us discovering the fantastic mysteries that God has cooked into reality. And it's just such a joy. And so my friend who does not believe as I do, but you experience that joy, that's because you have a father who loves you, who built into the universe that joy that you receive when you learn something about it. Let me tell you, on this side of the fence where Ken and I are, it is so much fun over here. And suddenly everything makes more sense when you come to see that Jesus has made the world as it is. Hey, Ken, you want me to tie this together? A conversation earlier. Jesus is a carpenter.
There we
The
go.
Bible word is tekton in the Greek. Tekton is where we get our word architect. So better to put Jesus as a general contractor. He can
Mm.
do anything. Jesus is the general contractor who established and built this entirety of everything that exists. Um, Jesus invented trees.
Yeah.
He invented whales. He invented us. And when you see that, it makes it all real and amazing. And by the way, if Jesus invented you, that means you have value too. So love your science. We do too. But do you want to really enjoy it? Come and learn how to use the tools accurately with us. And let me tell you, it'll make, and I mean this quite literally, a world of difference. That's what I got tonight, Ken. You let me go off there. Thanks.
Hey, no problem. No problem. Well, thank you everyone for blah, blah, blah. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight as I flub my way through my final sentences. And join us next week. Any questions, comments, leave them for us. We will look at them and subscribe to our channel. Click like, click hate, whatever you want to do. But
Do they do
everyone
that?
have a good night, and
Yeah,
we'll see you next week.
good night.